Before I start, I want to say this clearly. I'm not here to tell anyone else's story. I'm just sharing my own lived experience and what I've learned through my recovery, deep reflection, and a good chunk of time in the hope that it helps you make sense of whatever you're going through. So no one watching this video needs to recognize themselves perfectly for this to be useful. And if it helps bring clarity, then I've accomplished what I want to do with you today. I've had a very hard day this week. Nothing dramatic happened, no crisis, no emergency, but my body felt so heavy. My brain was foggy. I was sad in that quiet way that it doesn't have a clean label. And I've learned to pay attention to that now, because when I don't, my nervous system eventually will get my attention anyway with something, usually by messing with my focus, my energy, or just my ability to get anything done. I used to call that procrastination or laziness, or I ask myself, what the heck's wrong with me today? Taking other people's dismissals or disapproving looks and beating myself up had become a pattern for me instead of recognizing what was going on inside. So do you wonder why you're having trouble focusing? It turns out a lot of the time it's just grief, and not the kind of grief that gets casseroles or sympathy cards. This is the grief that happens when the people you care about are still alive, when the relationship technically could still exist, where there was love, a lot of investment and commitment, maybe even sacrifice on your part, and then something ended without repair, without reciprocity, any kind of closure. And that kind of grief is messy and it's taboo. We're taught to put a bow on difficult things, to just move on, to be fine. But your nervous system doesn't care about appearances. Not if there was love, if there was sacrifice, if there was emotional labor involved on your part. Your body remembers those. And when that loss doesn't get processed properly, it doesn't just disappear, it goes underground. And it creates a bug in the computer system. And for years, when I felt sad, there wasn't space to process those feelings. I had things to do, expectations to meet. And I thought that the responsible thing was to just push through, just keep going, just stay functional. Don't make a big deal. And honestly, it worked for a period of time until it didn't. Because unprocessed grief doesn't just sit quietly in the corner. It shows up sideways. It shows up as a distraction, as exhaustion. Sometimes our resentments will come out as a badly placed joke. That landed a little more sarcastically than we meant. You know what I mean? Or we get busy, but we're not actually moving anything forward. We're starting things, we're not finishing them. I didn't lose a day this week. I just stopped and I dealt with my feelings and did nothing else. I did the emotional work in the moment. It's not a luxury. It's the foundation of wellness and maturity. And I saved myself days, maybe weeks, of being quietly dysregulated and wondering why nothing was flowing. A lot of us were taught directly or indirectly that feeling things was inconvenient, that it made us dramatic or selfish or just weak or weird. So we learned to swallow it and just carry on. But there is a cost to that. And part of real recovery, real healing, is understanding that tending to grief isn't indulgent. It's maintenance. Just like you wouldn't drive a car forever without changing the oil. You can't expect your nervous system to function optimally if those things never get processed. And here's the part that surprises people. You don't have to go no contact with someone to grieve. Sometimes the relationship still kind of exists, but it's in such a different form. Sometimes the door isn't slammed shut. People will say, hey, let's try and get together, but they don't mean it. It's out of obligation. So we make the healthier decision and we say, we'll close the door. We don't lock it, but they do need to knock for you to spend time with them. And opening the door in those types of relationships, it's really hard because there was a real attachment, a real commitment on your part. But opening the door, there has to be accountability, awareness, or some kind of change on both sides. Otherwise, that's just inviting the old problems back in. So you don't reopen just because someone still wants access as long as it's easy. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect. I wish I could tell you there's a clean, efficient way to process grief, but there isn't. Your toolbox might have journaling or a walk or a fur baby or two. My tool was a conversation with someone who already knows the story, so I didn't have to explain everything from scratch. That just makes it hurt more. And sometimes it's just letting yourself say, wow, that still hurts, and having a really good cry. It's not very glamorous. I was a blubbery mess, but it's incredibly effective. Because when we ignore grief, just because it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, it doesn't make us stronger. It just makes us more tired. And if you've been feeling stuck or foggy or unmotivated, or like your productivity has quietly dried up, it might not be a discipline problem. It might be unresolved grief, just asking for some attention today. Healing doesn't mean reliving the past over and over again. It means letting what's already there just move through you and letting it go, instead of camping out in your body or fogging up your brain and killing up your motivation. And if you're realizing you might need some support with that, someone to help you kind of untangle it more safely at your pace, that is not weakness. That's wisdom. You don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to pretend. You don't have to mask your pain, because that never works. So journal, pick up the phone, have a good cry, whatever you need. You are totally allowed to do it because you matter.